giant of the southern lands. The vast plains of ancient South America stretched endlessly beneath a blazing sun. Tall grasses rippled in the wind like waves on a golden sea, broken only by scattered trees and distant rocky hills. Rivers cut deep channels through the land, feeding life across the open world. From the edge of the plains, Giganotosaurus emerged. It was enormous, longer than most predators, built for power and reach rather than brute bulk. Its massive head swayed slightly as it moved, jaws lined with long, serrated teeth designed to tear through the largest prey the plains could offer. Each step carried confidence earned through survival. This was a land of giants, and Giganotosaurus stood among the greatest. It paused atop a low rise, scanning the horizon. Herds of massive herbivores grazed in the distance, their heavy footsteps echoing faintly through the ground. Giganotosaurus watched patiently. It did not rush. Hunting here required timing, strategy, and endurance. A low rumble rolled across the plains. Giganotosaurus froze. The sound did not come from prey. It came from behind. Turning slowly, Giganotosaurus fixed its gaze on movement near a distant riverbank. Another massive predator stepped into view, shorter, heavier, built like a wall of muscle. Its presence alone carried challenge. A rival. The wind shifted, carrying the rival's scent clearly now. Giganotosaurus lifted its head and released a deep, echoing roar that rolled across the plains and startled birds into flight. This land is watched. The rival answered with a powerful roar of its own. When titans collide, the heat of the plains pressed down heavily as the two giants closed the distance between them. Dust rose beneath their feet, swirling around massive legs and whipping through the air. Giganotosaurus advanced first, long strides eating away the ground with controlled confidence. The rival charged suddenly, roaring as it lunged forward. Giganotosaurus twisted aside just in time, feeling the rush of air as massive jaws snapped shut where its neck had been moments before. With a powerful sweep of its head, Giganotosaurus slashed its teeth across the rival's flank, ripping flesh and drawing blood. The rival roared in pain and fury, swinging back with crushing force. Their bodies collided, shaking the earth beneath them. Claws scraped against thick hides as both predators struggled for advantage. Dust and blood filled the air. Giganotosaurus used its length and reach, striking from the side and retreating before the rival could land a full blow. The rival responded with brute strength, charging again and again, trying to overwhelm through sheer force. A misstep sent the rival sliding briefly on loose soil. Giganotosaurus seized the moment, slamming its body sideways and forcing the rival back several steps. Its jaws snapped shut on the rival's shoulder, tearing muscle before breaking away. Both predators paused, chests heaving. The rival's confidence wavered slightly now. Blood dripped steadily onto the dry grass. Giganotosaurus stood tall, eyes locked forward, tail balanced perfectly. The plains echoed with distant thunder as clouds gathered low on the horizon. This battle would not end quickly, and the southern lands would demand a victor. The long hunt. The sun climbed higher, turning the plains into a furnace. Heat shimmered above the grass, and every breath burned deep in the lungs. Giganotosaurus moved steadily, circling the rival at a distance, conserving energy while watching every shift of muscle and balance. This was its strength. Endurance. The rival charged again, driven by frustration more than strategy. Giganotosaurus sidestepped smoothly, using its long body to strike from an angle. Teeth tore across the rival's ribs, opening a deep wound before Giganotosaurus retreated once more. Blood darkened the grass. The rival roared and turned sharply, but its movements were slower now. Each charge cost precious energy under the brutal sun. Giganotosaurus kept moving, forcing the rival to follow, step after heavy step, across uneven ground and loose soil. The plains stretched endlessly. Minutes passed, then longer. The rival's breathing grew ragged. Its attacks became less precise, driven by rage rather than control. Giganotosaurus sensed the shift and closed in slightly, testing reactions, snapping its jaws close enough to force mistakes. A sudden stumble. The rival's foot slid on dry grass, balance faltering for just a moment. Giganotosaurus lunged, slamming its weight into the rival's side and sending both giants crashing to the ground. The earth shook. They rolled violently, claws tearing at flesh, jaws snapping inches from bone. Giganotosaurus twisted free first, rising with a powerful heave and striking down at the rival's neck ridge. The rival screamed and shoved back, barely escaping a crushing bite. Both predators rose slowly now, battered and bleeding. But the difference was clear. Giganotosaurus still moved with purpose. The rival moved with desperation. Favored the patient. Judgment of the southern giant. The plains had grown quiet again. Only the wind moved now, rolling through tall grass and carrying dust across the open land. Clouds drifted slowly overhead, offering brief relief from the burning sun. Giganotosaurus stood firm, its massive frame steady despite the wounds scored along its hide. The rival struggled several paces away. Its chest heaved violently, each breath labored. Blood streaked down its flank and soaked into the grass beneath its feet. Once proud and aggressive, it now hesitated with every movement, eyes flicking between Giganotosaurus and the open plains beyond. Giganotosaurus advanced. Each step was slow and deliberate, not rushed by rage or hunger. Its long tail balanced its forward movement perfectly, head held level, jaws slightly parted. The message was clear. There would be no escape through speed alone. The rival attempted one last display of strength, lifting its head and releasing a weak roar. The sound cracked and faded quickly, swallowed by the vastness of the plains. Giganotosaurus answered with a deep, resonant roar of its own. The ground seemed to tremble. The rival flinched, backing away instinctively. Its footing slipped, legs trembling as exhaustion overwhelmed it. The fight had stripped away illusion. Strength without endurance had failed. Giganotosaurus closed the distance and stopped just short of contact. For a long moment, the two giants faced one another in silence. Giganotosaurus's eyes burned with calm authority, not hatred. This was not a moment for killing. It was a moment for judgment. The rival lowered its head. Its tail dragged against the grass, body turned sideways in clear submission. The challenge was over. The plains responded almost immediately. The wind shifted. Birds returned cautiously to the sky. Life, sensing stability, began to breathe again. Ruler of the southern plains. The sun sank slowly toward the horizon, painting the southern plains in deep gold and crimson. Long shadows stretched across the land as the heat of the day finally loosened its grip. Giganotosaurus stood alone near a low rise, watching the world settle back into rhythm. The battle was over. Wind passed gently through tall grasses, carrying distant calls of returning herds. Massive herbivores moved cautiously from the edges of the plains, their presence restoring life to a land that had held its breath. Balance had returned. Giganotosaurus walked toward the river, each step heavy yet controlled. The water shimmered beneath the fading light, reflecting the vast sky above. It lowered its head and drank slowly, the cool water washing blood and dust from its jaws. Scars marked its body now, proof of survival, not weakness. As night approached, clouds parted, revealing a sky streaked with stars. Giganotosaurus climbed a shallow ridge overlooking the plains and stopped at its peak. From here, it could see everything: the grazing herds, the winding river, the distant forests. This was its domain. It released a long, powerful roar into the twilight. The sound rolled across the land, not in challenge, but in declaration. The plains answered with silence and stillness, acknowledging the ruler who stood watch. Giganotosaurus lowered its head and rested. Tomorrow would bring new hunts, new trials, and endless movement across the ancient world. But tonight, the southern plains were calm. Under the starlit sky, the giant predator stood as a symbol of endurance, proof that dominance was not only forged through power, but through patience and control. The age of the southern giant had begun,